I recently discovered hyper-individualism, and it's been an absolute cheat code when it comes to personal happiness and fulfillment. Hyper-individualism is the tendency, in a liberal individualist society, for social actors to understand themselves as disparate entities rather than primarily as members of collectives or groups. Now, per usual, this term has been hijacked by political extremists to try and connect it with racism, white supremacy, and the like. So, just to be clear, don't be racist and don't be a dick to others. It's a very challenging time to be a young man right now as society is just extremely hostile to you on all fronts, socially, politically, and economically. As a result, young men these days are constantly looking for answers to try and adapt to the changing times, as traditional advice for young men no longer works. Hyper-individualism might just be the best solution I've seen, and believe me, I've seen a lot of them. A common sentiment I've seen amongst young men today is that they're straight up just giving up on dating and on work, opting to index into a world of video games and working out instead. An outsider looking in might think this is just coping, loser behavior, but I think there's a lot more to the story. Most young men and men in general don't mind putting in the work when they know there's going to be a proportionate reward at the end. Working hard for no reward, though, just makes absolutely no sense. Sadly, this is just too often the case when it comes to modern dating and working. You dedicate all your time to improving yourself for a girl or for a job, but you end up getting rejected anyways. This is because no matter how much you improve yourself, the result is ultimately someone else's decision. It's outside of your control. On the other hand, when it comes to video games and working out, your efforts and your hard work directly immediately lead to better results. When you grind for hours in an RPG, you see your character improving, getting stronger, and defeating tougher opponents. When you practice hard at competitive multiplayer games, you see yourself gradually shooting up the ranks. The same thing happens when you work out. You will see guaranteed improvements in your health, stamina, and physique if you can consistently stick to a solid workout routine. This in turn motivates you to work out even more, creating a virtuous cycle. The individual nature of these activities make it a lot easier to dedicate yourself to, as you know your hard work won't go to waste. Compare this to relying on society, where you'll study for years, go into debt, apply for thousands of jobs, put in countless hours and years of hard work and practice, and still have nothing to show for it in the end. There's no better real-life example of the heights you can achieve with hyper-individualism than Daigo Umehara, the greatest Street Fighter player, and arguably the greatest pro gamer of all time. Daigo is a 6-time EVO Street Fighter champion, a 2-time SBO champion, and most impressively, he's 43 years old today, and still going incredibly strong in esports, where people typically fall off after 25. Since a lot of people wondered what was the secret to his longevity and success, he published an entire book about his philosophy called The Will to Keep Winning. I recently read the whole thing, and it's essentially a massive hyper-individualist biography. Daigo's philosophy when he's practicing to improve at Street Fighter is to prioritize individual improvement above all else. He doesn't care about wins and losses. He doesn't care about his rank. He doesn't care about what people will think of him. He only cares about improving his own personal skill. According to him, this is what allows him to stand out above the rest of the competition. Most people, when practicing or playing, are too scared of trying new moves, strategies, or combos because they're too fixated on winning that particular game. Daigo will try new, completely unproven moves and strategies, even in high-stakes professional matches. As a result, he often loses games he could have won in the short term, but improves himself in a more sustainable fashion in the long run. Hence why the book is called The Will to Keep Winning, emphasis on the word keep. At the professional level, anyone can get lucky and win once. But being able to consistently win at a high level for over 2 decades now is a much more impressive accomplishment, especially in the world of esports. As I was reading his book, it dawned on me that Daigo at some point intuitively figured out what all you Gen Z chads have also figured out. What's the point of depending on sources outside of yourself for approval? Whether it's a girl, a company, the audience watching your game, or your official in-game ranking. Depending on others is a losing game, and the only way towards true sustainable long-term success and fulfillment is self-reliance. This is why most of you would rather start your own business than rely on a corporation. Of course, part of that is also just that corporations pay such BS low wages these days. But beyond that, you guys are just tired of putting in all that effort just to make someone else rich? You're tired of society telling you what's successful and what's not. You want to define your own success, and you absolutely should. It's not like this society itself has been all that successful anyways. So, who are they to judge your success? This is what hyper-individualism is all about. So, with all that being said, let's talk about solutions. I'll be quite candid with you guys. Normally, I struggle to find solutions myself. But when it comes to hyper-individualism, I feel like I'm finally finding a decent direction when it comes to potential solutions, for the simple fact that hyper-individualism is a solution in and of itself. When you set new goals and aspirations, ask yourself if this is something where you're fully in charge of your own destiny and don't need the approval of others. And if it's not, then don't waste your time with it. For example, if you love competitive multiplayer games, maybe drop League of Legends for an individual game like Age of Empires or Mortal Kombat. If you love sports, go for an individual sport like boxing or tennis, as opposed to a team sport. Learn to be happy with your own progress and improvement, and most importantly, fuck society. You don't need its approval for anything.